Versatile Mage. Chapter 401. Black Totem Snake vs Silver Skyrella, Part 2. No matter how hard the White Army charged toward the mist, no matter how large the army was or how high their morale, they all ended up as corpses falling to the ground. The Black Totem Snake rode the mist and stared proudly at the Silver Skyrella. He did not even bother looking at the army of white magic falcons charging at him. Thousands of white magic falcons had not inflicted the slightest damage to his domain. He flicked his tongue and hissed at the Silver Skyrella, as if mocking its idiotic decision to send its people to their deaths. The Silver Skyrella soon realized that its people were dying in vain. It quickly ordered the white magic falcons to retreat before firing its sharp feathers at the Black Totem Snake. Half of the feathers had already been burned into ashes by Councilman Zhu Meng's fiery pike, so the attack was far less powerful than before. The Black Totem Snake stood high above the mist. The sharp feathers only left faint markings on his scales. He remained still, staring at the Silver Skyrella, as though waiting for his opponent to unleash everything it had. Suddenly, the Black Totem Snake lunged forward like a streak of purple-black lightning. The dense domain of feathers failed to stop him as he struck the Silver Skyrella, bit into its wing, and hurled it down to the ground. Many civilians at the city's edge fled in panic toward safety. Every city was equipped with a protective formation that would activate during an invasion by demon beasts. It was the only refuge for humans in times of calamity. The protective formation could only cover a limited area, usually just one per city. Reaching safety during such chaos was never easy. From the sky, the streets looked like tiny grids. Buildings and cars seemed like toys, and humans were even smaller. The people were like tiny black dots from afar, only noticeable when crowds gathered. Their pace was painfully slow compared to the speed of the white magic falcons. If not for the barrier of poisonous mist at the city's edge, they would have already become prey. My God, what on earth is that? A few students cried out in panic as they saw a silver creature falling from the sky. The silver beast was covered in feathers that reflected the light of the rising sun, making it look as though clad in silver armor. Its feathers hit the ground first, crushing a large area of low-rise buildings. Dust from the impact billowed across several streets. The city's west side was sparsely populated. After crashing to the ground, the Silver Skyrella furiously rose to its feet and patted the dust and debris from its body. It seemed to value cleanliness, even amidst battle. Gathering itself slowly, its massive figure resembled the monstrous giants of movies. Buildings, gardens, hospitals, schools, and bridges looked like toy models beneath its towering presence. Although the humans had withdrawn far away, they could still see the enormous demon bird spreading its wings. Even from half a city away, the sight struck terror deep into their hearts. Inside a school, a female teacher helping evacuate students suddenly screamed and pointed upward. Something else is falling down. From afar, it was clearly a black snake. As it descended rapidly, the people realized its size was even greater than they had imagined. The Silver Skyrella was already a colossal monster, yet the snake was double its size. The streets were instantly destroyed when the Black Totem Snake landed. Dust swept high into the air, leaving people utterly stunned. Humans always believed magic was the greatest power of all, but the two gigantic beasts fighting before them were on a completely different level. Still perched atop the Black Totem Snake, Mofan and Lingerling's faces turned pale with terror. The big guy hadn't even warned them before charging into battle with the Silver Skyrella. Couldn't he at least have put him down somewhere safe first? Did he really have to be so violent? The Black Totem Snake was clearly hot-tempered, his attention fully locked onto his cold-blooded opponent. Luckily, he still had some conscience, wrapping Mofan and Lingerling in layers of his scales to protect them. Otherwise, the sheer collision between two ruler-level creatures would have been enough to shatter their bodies. The Black Totem Snake gave the Silver Skyrella no time to breathe. Just as the demon bird tried to take off again, the snake's massive tail whipped through the air and smashed into its face. The Silver Skyrella was struck down once more. It shrieked furiously, unleashing a destructive sonic wave. The wave tore forward, shattering everything nearby into rubble. Even the black totem snake's sturdy scales began to crack slightly under the force. But he was unfazed. He lunged forward and swung his tail again. The strike cut through the sonic wave and landed squarely on the silver Skyrilla's open beak. It was as if the demon bird were a singer slapped in the face mid-performance for having a terrible voice. The sonic wave abruptly ceased as the silver Skyrilla staggered backward, crushing a toll station under its talons. "The big guy is so ruthless," Lingerling exclaimed, her eyes shining as she clung to the safety of the snake's scales. Mo Fan nodded in agreement. He had witnessed how the silver Skyrilla had toyed with 5 super magicians earlier. Yet now, when facing the black totem snake, it had been bitten, hurled, and slapped twice across the face. The once proud Skyrilla was left screeching helplessly in rage. "So many people are watching." Lingerling turned and saw countless humans observing the battle from the city center. Many had climbed rooftops to get a better view. The black totem snake and the silver Skyrilla were simply too enormous. Even from half a city away, the entire city could clearly see their clash. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 402. He's our guardian. Somewhere among the debris, Councilman Zhu Meng stared at the black totem snake in disbelief. For years, he had been trying to eliminate this threat from Hangzhou, yet to his surprise, the black totem snake was the one protecting the city in its moment of crisis. He finally understood why the totem tribe had worshipped the serpent like a god. The astonishing strength it displayed was truly that of a guardian of the city. It was unbelievable. The white magic falcons were unable to break through the poisonous barrier, and the silver Skyrilla had been beaten so badly it remained outside the city, too afraid to trespass further. Although both were ruler-level creatures, the black totem snake was clearly stronger. A highway stretched from the city westward, beyond the valley and onward toward other inland cities. The silver Skyrilla rose several hundred meters high, but the black totem snake could still reach it simply by straightening its massive body. From a few kilometers away, the black totem snake fixed its cold gaze on the silver Skyrilla, allowing the demon bird to ascend into the sky. The silver Skyrilla soared upward, eventually reaching 1,000 meters. Its climbing speed was impressive, and finally, it was high enough to unleash its full power. The black totem snake remained on the ground, but its silhouette suddenly blurred, like a reflection rippling on water, then vanished completely. His gigantic figure had disappeared into thin air. The silver Skyrilla, intimidated, kept its eyes sharp, watching closely. But the snake's sudden disappearance brought it no comfort. As the demon bird feared, a black mist suddenly appeared above it, with the black totem snake emerging from within. He could traverse distances freely through the mist, as if swimming in an endless ocean. The serpent coiled in a wide circle, leaving behind trails of black mist. The trails formed an immense outline, inscribed with markings, runes, and ancient symbols. From afar, it looked like a grand pattern of trigrams looming above the silver Skyrilla. The illusionary outline solidified into massive stone tablets, each 10 meters long, covered in glowing runes and symbols. The totem pattern transformed into a stunning imprint suspended high in the sky. The imprint plummeted like a meteor from the heavens, striking directly onto the silver Skyrilla's back. The force it carried was beyond imagination. The silver Skyrilla slammed into the ground once more. Strengthened by powerful earth element magic, the imprint's weight multiplied to an overwhelming degree. The ground sank in a circular crater as the demon bird was smashed deep into the earth. A pit formed between 2 sections of the highway, its surface stained with the silver Skyrilla's blood. The great bird was crushed beneath the imprint, pinned to the bottom of the pit. The black totem snake had never intended to let the silver Skyrilla escape into the sky. He had planned to suppress it completely. Such a remarkable skill. Is this a totem beast's special attack? Mo Fan exclaimed, staring wide-eyed at the deep pit from atop the black totem snake's head. No wonder Tang Yu was so confident that the councilman stood no chance against the snake after its ecdysis. Its strength was truly at the apex of the world's biotic pyramid. With such a guardian protecting Hangzhou, who would dare to threaten it? The imprint eventually shattered, and the silver Skyrilla crawled out in a pitiful state. Its head, back, and wings dripped with blood, and many of its once sturdy feathers had fallen away. Half had already been destroyed by Zhu Meng's fiery pike, and after enduring the black totem snake's might, it was now covered in cuts and bruises. The people of Hangzhou watched as their former terror, the mighty silver Skyrilla, struggled miserably. For so long, they had feared the army of white demon birds. But now, as they witnessed their ruler's defeat, they erupted in cheers. "He's protecting us. The skyscraping snake is protecting us," someone cried out in the crowd. "That's right, we accused him falsely," an old man shouted, remembering how the black totem snake had been tormented at Westlake. Back then, many, including the old man, had supported Zhu Meng's proposal to eliminate the serpent. But now, they realized how foolish they had been. If Zhu Meng had succeeded, they would all likely be corpses under the talons of the white magic falcons. Tang Yu, guiding the evacuation, turned toward the black totem snake with tears welling in her eyes. He had never caused the plague, nor had he harmed a single human. Though his size was immense and his aura terrifying, he had always hidden beneath Westlake, silently protecting the city. At last, the black totem snake had proven himself, and the humans' view of him had changed. It was the best outcome Tang Yu could ever hope for. The morale of the white magic falcons collapsed. Knowing they could never breach the poisonous barrier, they no longer wished to throw away their lives. Their corpses piled high, a grim spectacle in the sky. The heavily wounded silver Skyrilla no longer dared invade the city. Though furious, it cried out to its army, ordering them to retreat and escort it away. It soared into the sky, heading west. "Is it running away?" Ling Ling asked. "Of course," Mo Fan replied. Its pawns couldn't even get close to the black totem snake, and the battle was completely one-sided. What else could it do but run? Chapter end. Versatile Mage. Chapter 403. Leaving everyone in awe. The black totem snake was very powerful, without a doubt the strongest creature Mo Fan had ever seen. The Darkwing Wolf, Razortail Drake, Xuanwu Giant Lizard, and Giant Poisonous Centipede were like little bugs compared to the black totem snake. They would impress him if they could survive a mouthful of poison from the snake. Fortunately, the black totem snake did not possess any evil tendencies. He did not hold a grudge against the humans despite being tortured by the councilmen and rejected by the people. Otherwise, if the black totem snake were to attack Hangzhou City together with the silver Skyrilla, the city would most likely end up in ruins. Their experts could not even handle a silver Skyrilla, and yet it was badly beaten up by the black totem snake. If the black totem snake turned against them, he did not even need an army. He could easily destroy the place on his own. The victorious black totem snake did not chase after the silver Skyrilla. The silver Skyrilla had various ways to keep itself alive, thus it was rather meaningless to pursue the demon bird. The totem beast raised his head proudly and uttered a blasting roar. His voice spread a great distance. Not only did it echo through the forest in the west, but in the valleys, rivers, and woods in other directions, too. It served as a declaration that he had defeated the dominator of West Ridge, the silver Skyrilla, while warning the rest of the demon beasts that he was residing in the city. Any trespasser would suffer his wrath. In simpler words, he had declared ownership of Hangzhou. The majestic demeanor of the black totem snake prompted Mo Fan to recall the drawings in the shrine at the center of the lake. Only those who had witnessed the black totem snake's strength could tell how strong he actually was. He was just like a god, protecting the beautiful city for so many centuries. As the white magic falcons and the silver Skyrilla flew off into the distance, the alert that had everyone in a panic was finally withdrawn. The people in the emergency safe zone returned to their areas. The defense of West Fortress returned to normal. Many places had recalled the Heavenly Eagles battle mages to set up defensive perimeters, to ensure that Hangzhou City was no longer in danger. The biggest problem the humans had in the battle was the Heavenly Eagles. The ruler of West Ridge had never left its territory before, thus the military never realized that the Heavenly Eagles, which originated from the same species as the white magic falcons, would betray them. The Heavenly Eagles were the most important firepower in the air for the military. When they turned against them, the sky suddenly became free to fly for the demon birds. They could easily bypass the roadblocks that were set up on the ground. Luckily, the black totem snake had eliminated the threat before it invaded the city. Otherwise, it was horrible to consider the casualties that might have resulted from the mistake they had almost made. The crowd returned to West Fortress. No one had let the guard down after the retreat of the white magic falcons. North of West Ridge was a huge forest. The demon beasts residing there had always been restless. It was highly possible that they would take advantage of the precarious situation to invade, thus they could not afford to relax after the battle. They had to improve the defensive measures, to prevent the demon beasts from finding an opening. Strange, normally, the demon beasts would try and invade us, just to give us some pressure. Why are they fairly quiet this time? I thought the army of white magic falcons fought the opening battle for them, asked General Yun Feng in a confused tone from where he stood on the highest observation tower of the fortress. I guess the black totem snake has scared them away, said Tang Jung. The black totem snake did not just let out a few roars randomly. Not only did they realize the demon beasts in the west became fairly quiet, the fortresses in the east, south, and north were surprised when they found out that the demon beasts had withdrawn over 10 kilometers from their territory. Councilman Zhu Meng, who had not fully recovered yet, let out a relieved sigh with a complicated expression. Zhu Meng, Elder Li Tian was about to say. Councilman Zhu Meng waved his hand and said, "Don't worry, my threat elimination strategy no longer includes the black totem snake. Either way, he has saved us all, and made up for the grave mistake that we made. I should thank him instead." Councilman Zhu Meng subconsciously glanced at the skyscraping snake staying close to the perimeter of West Fortress. The black totem snake woke up from his nap as if he were aware of his name being mentioned. He tilted his head toward the observation tower. His giant head stared at the crowd on the tower, before opening his mouth all of a sudden. Councilman Zhu Meng instantly tensed. The brilliance of magic appeared around his figure. Meanwhile, the black totem snake spat something out from his mouth. The lump covered in stomach acid rolled to their feet. Mo Fan pinched his nose. It did look somehow familiar to him. "It looks like a person," said Tang Jung with a confused look. Councilman Zhu Meng's face was instantly filled with anger. He pointed his finger at the black totem snake and snapped, "You dare to eat a human? I shall serve justice today even if it means putting my life at stake." Councilman Zhu Meng demanded, but he did not move. He was no match for the black totem snake at his full strength, let alone when he was still injured. Mo Fan chuckled when he saw Councilman Zhu Meng's reaction. "Don't worry, it's only Councilman Luo Mian." Everyone immediately took a closer look at the figure that was covered in stomach acid, which suddenly began to move. Most of his skin and flesh had corroded. He was crawling on the ground painfully. He grabbed Councilman Zhu Meng's leg with his hands. The previously well-respected councilman had now turned into a half-digested ugly monster. Some among the crowd felt sorry for him, yet Mo Fan, Ling Ling, and Leng King all agreed that he deserved it well. "Ah, Brother Luo Mian, may I ask why the bracelet we gave to Wang Xiaojun is currently in your hand?" Councilman Zhu Meng asked with a cold smirk. Councilman Luo Mian pleaded with the crowd to spare his life. He begged at Councilman Zhu Meng's feet for a long time. When he realized that it was not working, he used all his effort to crawl toward Tang Yu. He knew that the black totem snake hugely favored Tang Yu. A single sentence from her could easily convince the scary snake to spare his life. Tang Yu slowly knelt down and glanced at Councilman Luo Mian's corroded face. When everyone thought she had decided to show mercy and spare his life, She simply grabbed the bracelet from his hand and snapped, "This glory that was traded with a brave person's life does not belong to you." Chapter end. Versatile Mage. Chapter 404. Pure Heart. The red falcon herbs that were retrieved from the bracelet were soon transported to the main quarantine zone. Despite the delay, it managed to arrive before the second batch of infected died. Mr. Liu speedily produced the cure for the plague using the red falcon herbs and distributed it among the infected. Those who were not in severe condition recovered in no time. It would take the others a few days of rest before they were allowed to reunite with their families. The quarantine zone was filled with tears of joy. The people were extremely worn out from the torture of the plague and the invasion of the demon beasts. They had learned that they should treat life as more precious from the experience. Little did they know, the main reason they were able to survive from the plague and the invasion was a youngster and a crossbreed heavenly eagle. The heroic heavenly eagle was buried in some corner of the land. Similar to the black totem snake who had protected the city secretly for many years, it was also considered the guardian of the city. Regardless of how petty its lineage and strength were, its contribution would be acknowledged by the people for many years. As for the youngster that the heavenly eagle had carried back to West Fortress, he was still in a deep sleep even after everyone had recovered from the plague. He was only an empty shell without a soul. However, when everything returned to normal, he was given the highest respect by the soldiers of the entire fortress. Similar to the heavenly eagle, he was so weak that he did not even possess a military rank, yet he was willing to sacrifice all he had to save the city. When the soldiers saw the cold body of the youngster lying on the stand, they clearly realized that respect was not earned by powerful status or high age, nor was it earned by having an outstanding strength. What mattered the most was the pure, innocent heart. Something that looked extremely terrifying turned out to be the guardian of the city, yet a magician who seemed rather friendly and gentle turned out to be the cause of the disaster. The people had many things to learn, reflect on, and remember from this incident. Their only hope was that Hangzhou City would not experience the same tragedy again. On top of that, they also wished there were more people like Wang Xiaojun, who was willing to stand forward and face the terrifying army of white magic falcons despite his young age. He did not have a military rank, but he was not scared of the authorities when he clearly knew the right thing to do. A formidable enemy was not enough to bring doom upon mankind, but the corruption of one's heart was. It would spread widely among the people and bring destruction upon humanity. Is there really no way to save him? Ling asked as she leaned against the ice bed which was preserving the body. Her eyes flickered with a hint of frustration. Mr. Liu stroked his mustache with a helpless expression. He shook his head and uttered a sigh. Some said that the highest magic of the healing element has the ability to revive someone. I myself have yet to achieve such a height, but I believe someone in this world has done so. The problem is, it will only work when his soul is fully preserved. In his situation, his body is in perfect condition, yet half of his soul was taken away. Only one place in this world can save him. Ling blurted out, "Where is it? Tell me." Mr. Liu hesitated for a moment, before replying, "The Parthenon Temple." A thought crossed Mo Fan's mind. The Parthenon Temple. It was the second time he had heard the name. It sounded like a sacred place in a different country. He recalled that Tang Yu had mentioned the same name when he asked her how he could possibly save Zhu Zhaoting's life in the past. What kind of place was it? The highest temple for the healing element. If the healers there could possibly wake Wang Xiaojun up, couldn't the government of Hangzhou City ask them a favor to save the kid's life? Shouldn't we send him to the Parthenon Temple, if we know there's a chance he could be saved? Asked Ling. Mr. Liu waved his hand and spoke, "I don't know about the details, but I'm sure that it won't make any difference, even if we brought Wang Xiaojun there. They do have the ability to resurrect one's soul, but they are very strict about it, and they don't welcome visitors. Even the president of our country's magic association wouldn't convince them to save the kid, let alone the city's government. So there's no way we can help him," said Mo Fan. "We'll leave him in sleep for now. Maybe a miracle will happen. His soul might recover slowly. No matter how slim the chance is, we'll take care of him, said Mr. Liu. West Lake, Sioux Causeway had a totally different look. Except for the path that was filled with fallen leaves, the place was crowded with visitors. Many people had visited West Lake after the incident, hoping they could see the black totem snake in person. The black totem snake had suddenly become a tourist attraction, gathering a huge number of tourists here. They completely forgot that the city had just gone through a red alert crisis. Unfortunately, the black totem snake never showed himself after the battle. The visitors only found themselves staring at the lake's water. The news about the black totem snake spread wildly. The people now knew that Hangzhou City had a guardian, explaining why a city that had existed for such a long time had suffered the lowest number of invasions. When everything returned to normal, there were elderly taking a walk on Sioux Causeway, couples having dates on the benches, and families visiting the city enjoying themselves beside the lake. As the fear that loomed over the city totally disappeared, the city regained its peace. It was all up to the residents to not take the peaceful time for granted. Here, this is for you. Tang Yu softly swiped her hair, giving Mo Fan a stunning smile. Mo Fan received Tang Yu's gift with a confused look. He slowly opened up the wrapping. What is this? It's hard and black, said Mo Fan. It's what you asked for, said Tang Yu sternly. Mo Fan could not help but mumble in his heart, what I want is you, why are you giving me this instead? It's the black totem snake's scales. You can use it to forge a set of armor, said Tang Yu. Oh, right, just this much. I was planning to forge a few sets of them, said Mo Fan, who was checking out the scales, which only seemed to be enough for a single set of armor. They aren't scales you can just find, and the scales that peel off during the ecdysis are incredibly hard to refine. I've tried very hard to find a good blacksmith, and this is all I get. Give it back if you're not happy with it, Tang Yu said with a long face. The materials required to forge magic armor were rather unique. They needed to have a special element inside in order to be eligible for forging, refining, and enchantment, and had less than a 1% chance to appear. The scales that the black totem snake peeled off basically did not contain this special element. If the whole skin that the snake had shed was eligible to be forged into armor equipment, they would have produced them in bulk. Magical equipment was incredibly scarce, not only because they were difficult to produce, but because the material was very hard to find, too. I'm happy with a set of armor, Mo Fan chuckled. He would not dare reject Tang Yu's gift. Snake scale is a special material, especially the black totem snakes. I suggest you look for a talented forgemaster at Dongfang Oriental Tower. Not every forgemaster can handle the difficulty of forging a set of armor with these scales, advised Tang Yu. I've stayed in Hangzhou for too long. It's time for me to go back to school, said Mo Fan with a relaxed smile, placing his hands behind his head. You've done a lot this time. Hangzhou's enforcement union has proposed granting you a rather unique title, Tang Yu said with a giggle. What title? Asked Mo Fan immediately. You will know it once you arrive at school, and you're welcome, Tang Yu replied with a mysterious smile. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 405. Put on your clothes. Mo Fan remembered the training at Dongting Lake was around the start of the year, and yet it was almost the end of the year before he was on his way back to school. He could not help but reflect on what he had gone through during this period of time. First, he fought against a giant lizard with the lineage of the dragon race, then stumbled into a murderous commander who was as merciless as a devil. After that, he lived like a caveman in the wild for a few months and played some mind games with the Xuanwu giant lizard and the giant poisonous centipede. Last but not least, he was only planning a visit to a girl at Hangzhou City, yet found himself in a terrible mess. If he weren't currently on his way back to Pearl Institute wearing his uniform, he could not help but wonder if he had somehow turned into a walking catastrophe who would stir chaos wherever he went. Why does it feel like Mars would be a lot safer than Earth? Screw it, It wouldn't make any difference if he kept thinking about it. He should go back to his apartment as soon as possible. He took out the key he hid under a pot and efficiently unlocked the door. Sister Mew, isn't that Joe chumming a bit too full of himself? He even boasted shamelessly that you're going to be their Joe clan's daughter-in-law in front of the public. I know he's strong, but how dare he put you under the spotlight without your consent? Isn't he aware that the trend of acting like a tyranny CEO is too old-fashioned? I've never seen anyone as shameless and proud as him, apart from that asshole Demon King. I-Tutu snapped. Mew Nujiao was sitting on the couch, her slim figure sinking into the sofa slightly. Her head was leaning backward, allowing her hair to fall down along the back of the couch. She looked like a grand swan holding its neck upright. She rubbed her forehead softly with a rather tired look. She did not respond to I-Tutu. Seemingly aware of something, Mew Nujiao turned around and glanced at the entrance with a frown. The heavy door opened. A young man with a bright smile walked in through the gap. He first glanced at the living room, before taking off his shoes and placing them on the shelves. He hung his backpack on the hooks beside him and took his jacket off. His flow of actions was enough to imply that he had gotten used to the setup around him. It felt like home to him. In the living room, the eyes of Mew Nujiao and I-Tutu opened wide. They simply stared at the man who had barged into their apartment for a few seconds. Sister Mew, is that a ghost I'm looking at? I-Tutu asked in disbelief. She quickly looked out of the window. The sun was out and bright, its light had lit the room up well. She never knew that a ghost was capable of walking around freely in bright day. Mew Nujiao stared at the man in silence. Her eyes were filled with complicated feelings. So which asshole is more of a jerk than me? Miss I-Tutu, feel free to tell me his name. I'm obliged to. Curse him to death on your behalf, blurted out Mo Fan indifferently. He was wearing a smile on his face, as if nothing had ever happened. You. I-Tutu could not find the right word as she pointed her finger at Mo Fan. She swallowed a mouthful of saliva to adjust her thoughts, before she finally managed to speak properly. Aren't you dead? Mo Fan burst out laughing. Many people have survived jumping off a cliff, so why would I die so easily? Besides, how could I possibly leave the mum and daughter alone? I'm not a man who is willing to give someone else a chance to take advantage of my circumstances. Humph, we're sisters, not mother and daughter. I-Tutu said with a smirk. Don't you switch the topic. Are you a ghost or human? If you're a human, why did everyone say you're dead? If you're a ghost, how dare you still spy on us sisters, even after you're dead? You're a monster. I'm warning you, I've awakened the soul element. If you dare take another step, I will erase you, yelled I-Tutu. Meanwhile, Mew Nujiao seemed like she had something to say. She nudged I-Tutu with her elbow. I-Tutu spread her arms out and stood in front of her sister. You shall never lay your hand on us. You better set your eyes on reincarnation instead. Mew Nujiao finally ran out of patience. She stepped forward and blocked I-Tutu with her body. Sister, I'm not afraid of him, said I-Tutu. Mew Nujiao let out a cough and whispered blushingly, well, Tutu, you better put on your clothes first. I-Tutu was stunned. She slowly lowered her head and realized her fairly large breasts were exposed to the air. They were still trembling slightly due to her heavy breathing. Ugh! I-Tutu screamed out in embarrassment. You pervert, why did you remove my clothes? While screaming, I-Tutu covered her breasts and fled upstairs. As a woman with 34D breasts, her running was a spectacular view. It was so gorgeous that Mo Fan could feel his nose heating up. Mew Nujiao tapped her forehead softly after seeing I-Tutu's panicked reaction. How slow could this I-Tutu be? It had been a while since the two girls were the only ones living in the apartment. It was cold outside, but the apartment was warm with the heaters. I-Tutu was never bothered with trifles. She always complained that her bras were too tight, thus she would normally take them off after coming back home, and would not bother wearing clothes. She would simply lie on the couch and watch her dramas. In fact, Many girls would do the same when they were home alone. However, they never thought Mo Fan, who was supposed to be dead, would barge in all of a sudden. She ended up presenting herself to him half naked. "I guess your living habits are better. Aren't you surprised?" Mo Fan and Mu Nujiao were left in the living room. Mu Nujiao's eyes flickered with shame and anger. She should be happy knowing Mo Fan had survived, yet she somehow assumed he was doing it on purpose to achieve his evil goal. She replied, "I thought so. A bad guy like you wouldn't die so easily. So you will speak bitingly too, or maybe the fact that I'm still alive has made you lose your mind, that you can no longer hold yourself back." Mo Fan squinted theatrically. Mu Nujiao was not bothered by the remark. Either way, it was a relief knowing that he was still alive. Even if she were to let it go and rebuke him, he would not listen at all. "Mo Fan." I Tutu's voice like a lioness exploded from upstairs. The entire unit began to tremble. Mu Nujiao glanced at the stairs before looking at Mo Fan. "You take care of yourself." Mu Nujiao put on her lint slippers and headed for the stairs, leaving behind Mo Fan, who was about to suffer the consequences. "Shouldn't you give me a reunion hug?" Mo Fan asked with a wry smile as he watched Mu Nujiao drifting away. Mu Nujiao was halfway up the stairs. She cast a glance back at him speechlessly, before continuing on her way to her room. Mo Fan watched the slim curves of her back. What a pity. Mu Nujiao slowly closed the door as she entered her room. She leaned against the door and raised her head upward. She closed her eyes, feeling extremely relieved. A while later, her red lips curled slightly upwards. After her eyes sprang open once again, it seemed like the world had become more exciting. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.